morning, everyone. Hoping everyone is well this morning. Hoping everyone is well. We are so excited to be with you live this morning for your morning reset. I'm sorry, I'm still getting myself together. For your morning reset this morning. Good morning. We're so excited to be sharing with you this morning. If you have a moment, just take a minute to like and share and have everyone join in with us this morning as we focus this morning on the soul. This is your morning reset, and I am your host, Tameeka Nelson. I am excited and ecstatic to be your spirit, soul, and business strategist. So this morning, we're going to jump right into it. And our topic for this morning is going to be rest for your soul. Every week, we focus on either the spirit, the soul, or your business. And so this week, we're focusing on the soul. And we want to talk about rest for your soul. Let me just pull up my notes here. And so I wanted to, this was just something that kind of kept coming back to me, especially during this season of hustle and bustle. We kind of get caught up in all that is going on in the holiday season, and we don't really rest like we should. And when you talk about, well, I should say we don't allow our souls to rest, right? Like we should. And so when we talk about our soul, we're talking about our mind, we're talking about our heart, our conscience, our will, and our imagination. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about the soul. So you can think about how people get all caught up in the hustle and bustle, and their minds are not at rest, their conscience is not at rest, their hearts are not at rest for various different reasons, right? But I wanted to speak this morning about rest for your soul so that as you're going through this season, you can be intentional and be conscious about making sure you are at rest, okay? And so, excuse me, sorry. So we want to make sure that we are intentional about resting in this season. And a lot of people have the notion of I'll rest after I die, right? No, that's not going to work for me. You're going to need rest now to have productive relationships, to make logical decisions, and on and on. The lack of rest can really, really detour your life, honestly, because you are making decisions in the moment that you are not conscious of, and your spirit is not rested, your mind is not rested, and you're just making a rash decision. And so therefore you can pay a consequence for that, right? So I want to just really make sure that we are pushing in this morning and honing in on resting, and understanding that rest is not an enemy, right? Sleep is not an enemy. And sleep also, I mean, that's a part of rest, but that is not necessarily the only way to rest. But that is not an enemy. In Psalms 127:2, it says that it's useless to stay up all day. To wake up early and to stay up all night, working your finger to the bone, because God delights in giving his beloved, his children, rest. Another version says God takes care of his own even while they rest. He can't take care of it if you are always on the go, not paying attention, you're not fully rested. So we want to make sure that we rest, but also give God space to work on whatever it needs to be worked on while we rest. While we are at ease, okay? And rest is restorative. Rest is sacred. And while rest does not include sleep, it is not always sleep, okay? It includes sleep, but it's not always sleep. So when we talk about rest today, I don't want you to automatically think sleep. So we're going to go ahead and define rest, okay? Rest is defined as to cease work or movement in order to relax, refresh oneself, or recover strength. How many of us need that today? Rest is to be placed or supported so as to stay in a specified position. How many need to be supported today or placed in a position of rest? Rest is to be based on or grounded in. How many need to be grounded today? We need to be rest is to be depended on. In music, the interval of silence is called a rest. How many of us need some silence? Right? And as a noun, rest is an object that is used to support something. How many of you can use that support today? Rest as a support for you, something to lean back on, right? And so those are the definitions I want us to look at today as we are defining and redefining rest within our own lives. I want to take a look at Matthew 11, 20, Matthew 11, yes, 28 and 29. It says, are you tired, worn out, out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me and watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I love that. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. That is God's promise to us. Isn't that beautiful? I will show you how to take a real rest, because many of us, me included, don't know how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace, meaning learn how to walk in grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Isn't that beautiful? The other translation, let me get to it. The other translation says, are you weary, carrying a heavy burden? Come to me. I will refresh your life, for I am your oasis. Simply join your life with mine. Learn my ways, and you'll discover that I'm gentle, humble, easy to please, and you will find refreshment and rest in me. I will refresh your life, for I am your oasis. I am your water in a dry place. But you have to come to me for rest, right? The translation that we're most familiar with, it says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Isn't that beautiful? I need that today. I need that today. Not just to rest, but to be able to rest and lean upon him this morning. And so I really want you to grab that. And so when we talk about rest this morning, I want to share with you the 7 types of rest, okay? The 7 types of rest. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Oops, let me take that down. There's 7 types of rest. So there is physical rest. Number 1 is physical rest. That's what we're talking about, sleep, right? Rest from physical activities. That's sleep. That's relaxing on a beach. That's taking a walk. That's taking a nap. That's having a massage. That's being still. Being still, right? There is a song that says, be still and know that I am God. I'm going to post it in the comments when this is over. But that song, that is something I play when I just need some stillness, when you need that quiet time. And that song, I'll just put it on repeat over and over again. It says, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Right? And so even in that, when I turn that song on, I could just feel my body just relax. Be still and know, right, that he is God. I'm taking time to rest in the fact that he is God. This physical rest doesn't really happen effectively without the other types of rest. So if you are emotionally in anguish, or if your mind is distraught, it's hard to actually get physical rest. So physical rest happens a lot of times when those other things are in alignment. So you can actually sleep and never really get rest. You can sleep and not be rested because all these other different rests are not in place. The second is mental rest. That would be prayer. That would be meditation. Getting thoughts out of your head. If you need to journal it out, if you need to write it out, some people record it out. Getting the thoughts out of your head, giving your mind time to recharge without outside stimulation. Okay. Number 3 is sensory. I'm often overstimulated. I realize it about myself. I'm often overstimulated. So what I do now is I have set my phone to shut off notifications at a certain time. At 9 o'clock, my notifications go off. So I'm not constantly up my phone, up this, up that. I turned off notifications on my computer because that normally either overstimulates me or distracts me from whatever it is that I'm trying to do, right? So I suggest turn off notifications, limiting your screen time, creating environments that appeal to your senses, like we're talking about sensory rest, creating environments, whether that is candles, whether that is dim lighting, whatever that is, that environment is for you that brings you rest, making sure that you create that often within your life. Create that space often within your life, okay? Psychologists recommend the 5 senses grounding techniques, which means that you stop and acknowledge 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. At some point in your day, oops, I'm sorry, I put up the wrong. It said 7 types of courage. It should be 7 types of rest. I'm sorry. It says the psychologist grounding techniques again is 5 things you see. When we're talking about sensory rest, that's what you want to do. 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Just stop 1 minute and a few minutes out of a day and do that, because that creates sensory rest for you. It calms you and grounds you and gives you sensory rest, okay? Emotional rest, putting yourself in emotionally healthy environments, right? Don't put yourself in places where your emotions are going to be all charged up all the time, because your emotions need rest. Having authentic conversations, that brings emotional rest. Have you ever had a real authentic conversation and you feel that when you're done? Yeah, that's emotional rest. Sometimes being alone, is emotional rest. Sometimes emotional rest is giving yourself permission to be an emotional mess. You ever had a good cry and then afterwards you could feel like you could sleep for days? That is emotional rest, right? I can go to sleep. I can have a real good cry and go to sleep right after, because I've released all those emotions. And I am able now to really, really rest. Next is social rest. My kids introduced me to my social battery, right? And so we need to know ourselves well enough to know how much social interaction we can take before we need a break. So depending on I'm going to use myself as an example, of course. Depending on the environment, I normally could do about 3 hours before I need a break. And if it's an environment with a lot of people, a lot of, let's say a party or something like that, I give myself a good 2. So let's say 2 to 3 hours before I'm probably veering off into a corner, going to the bathroom, going outside, because I need that social break, right? So it's knowing yourself well enough to know when you need to break, when you need to leave, how much social interaction you can take. And I used to put time limits on my kids' parties, like I would say 2 to 5, and people would show up at 4:45. Well, we're taking stuff down now, because I know my battery. I say 2 to 5. By 4:45, we're passing out the bags, because I know my time is almost up, right? So just knowing yourself well enough to put those kind of boundaries, right, in place. 6 is creative rest. I am a creative, and whenever I am having a creative block, it's normally because I haven't rested or I'm trying too hard. Creativity happens naturally, so sometimes we have to step away, give ourselves and our creative juices a rest, and come back to it, right? So that rest can sometimes be minutes, sometimes that rest is weeks, sometimes that rest is months. But again, it's knowing yourself and knowing well enough what you need to do. If you give yourself a break from whatever it is you're trying to create, 9 times out of 10, all those ideas, you'll just be driving and all those ideas will come to you at one time, because you creatively rested. Number 7 is spiritual rest. We are in a spiritual battle every single day, whether we see it or whether we don't see it, whether we are conscious of it or whether we are not conscious of it. There is a battle happening every day, and this can take a toll on every type of rest that we mentioned. It can take a toll on your creative rest, your social rest, your emotional rest, your sensory rest, your mental rest, and Lord knows it can take a toll on your physical rest. That spiritual battle that we are in every day can have a physical impact on us. And so we need to make sure that we are spiritually rested. And so for some people, that may be taking a time to retreat. That may be fasting, that may be prayer, that may be worship or soaking music. I enjoy, we've done several times silent retreats where we go hours without talking. And that's, for some reason, it's really restorative for me. It may not be for everybody, but silent retreats where we'll just lay back, be quiet. And I mean, well, you can pray in that time or whatever, but a lot of times I just get quiet. Just get still and quiet and really, really hone in on whatever it is that God is saying to me in that moment. And then again, he may not be saying anything. He may just be like, you need this rest. You need this quiet time. My life always has something going, right? There's always something going. Kids, work, there's always something going. I find that I don't get a lot of quiet time in my day. So when I am intentional about quiet time, I always am restored in that process. So those are the 7 types of rest: physical rest, mental rest, sensory rest, emotional rest, social rest, creative rest, and spiritual rest. And again, that's supposed to be 7 types of courage, 7 types of rest, not 7 types of courage. I forgot to change the word. But I wanted to share those with you today so that you can be more intentional, again, especially during this season, about making sure that you are getting rest. And just like God took a break on the 7th day, he rested, right? So we shouldn't be overly confident in ourselves that we can do something and we can keep operating without rest, because even God needs rested. And at the point you are greater than God, baby, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. If it was essential to him, it is also essential to us. So I thank you all for sharing with me this morning. I pray that you find rest for your souls as you go through this season, this holiday season. Please, 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 please make sure. Hey, Dad, my dad is on this morning. Hey, Lynette, Lady Lynette, Danielle. I'm just seeing the comments. I'm sorry. Making sure that you find rest for your soul, rest for your mind, rest for your heart, rest for your conscience, rest for your will, right? All of that, rest for your imagination. Make sure that you find rest for your souls. I'm so excited, and I thank you again for joining me for this morning reset. And you all have a blessed day. I will talk to you next time.